So, the fraud squad. What have they gone and done? They've gone and green-lighted billions in dollars of military aid for Israel. Yes. And when I saw this, when I figured out what was going on, I checked it twice. I checked it 3 times. I checked it 4 times. I checked it 5, 6 times. I asked other people to look at it for me to make sure I wasn't hallucinating, although I shouldn't be surprised. But yes, this is true. So let's go into it, shall we? So just a few days ago, what did we have? We had this piece of legislation that passed, okay? I'm going to pull it up for you. It's House Resolution 4373, okay? And what is this? This is the foreign operations. So I'll read you the full title of it, right? It's to make appropriations for the Department of State, foreign operations, and related programs for the fiscal year. And this thing has a lot of provisions in it. So it has things to fight climate change. You know, it has even aid for Palestinians, right? It has a lot of things bundled into that, which is what they usually do with these omnibus type resolutions, right? They'll package millions of things into one giant bill to kind of convince certain people in Congress to just pass it. And, you know, I want to look at this over here, because this is the important part. It has $3.3 billion in aid to Israel, okay? So where does this 3.3 come from? If you recall, this is from Obama, right? You know how people say Obama, oh, he's such a nice progressive president. They say the biggest scandal he ever had was a tan suit. No, I think this is one of his biggest scandals, right? The one where he gives Israel $38 billion over 10 years. And where does that come from? Which document is that from? Well, that comes from, hold on, I'm going to pull that up for you as well. This is from the Memorandum of Understanding reached with Israel. This is from 2016, right? And as you can see here, what is the understanding that they reached? They said, under the new MOU with Israel, the Obama administration has made the largest single pledge of military assistance in U.S. history. The total value of the new MOU, which is from 2019 to 2028, is $38 billion, meaning $3.8 billion per year. So even though this is a 10-year thing, every year, Congress has to get together and green-light it, okay? They have to, specifically, we're not just talking about that, but this foreign operations bill, so that with all these other provisions, they have to get together and green light it every single year, annually. Okay? Now let's take a look at the tally. Let's take a look at the tally, because I think once you understand how this actually got passed, you're going to be surprised. You're going to be surprised. Okay? So over here, look at the roll call. What does that say? That says 217 yes and 212 no. So as you may recall, in Congress, most of the time, you just need a simple majority to get a bill passed, okay? And what is that number? Well, right there it is, right in front of you. Now, you know, Democrats, they control the White House, they control the House, they control the Senate. The Senate barely, right? It's Kamala Harris that gives them the tie-breaking vote. But they're better off in the House than they are in the Senate. But nonetheless, they control all 3 chambers, right? And who do you think cast those those tie-breaking votes? Who do you think cast those tie-breaking votes? Surely, for the love of God, these progressives, the so-called squad, would never vote for this. It has $3.3 billion in military to Israel. Look, this is what it says. This is what it says. That of the funds appropriated under this heading, not less than $3.3 billion shall be available for grants only for Israel, which shall be dispersed within 30 days of enactment of this act. Surely no one in their right mind would vote for that. Surely, for the love of God, Ilhan Omar would not vote for that after she just said 3 months ago. She said 3 months ago in May that $3.8 billion U.S. military aid to Israel is unacceptable, right? Let me just read you this. So taking to Twitter, the Somali-American congresswoman wrote, we provide, quote, we provide $3.8 billion in military to the Israeli government a year without any accountability. As we speak, the Israeli military plans to force over 500 Palestinians from their homes. We must make sure that no U.S. tax dollars are used to fund this violence. Okay, so she's talking about Sheikh Jarrah, which I covered the Supreme Court thing today, so we'll get into that afterwards. But surely Ilhan Omar would not vote for this. She just said 3 months ago that this is bad. And not just 3 months ago, she said 2 years ago in 2019, she said the U.S. should reconsider their aid to Israel. Okay? And just a few months ago, in April, there was a bill that was co-sponsored by Rashida Tlaib, Ocasio-Cortez, where they were saying they should condition aid to Israel. Now, to be fair, they came through. So AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she voted no. Rashida Tlaib, who's Palestinian, she voted no. Okay? Cori Bush voted no. But who voted yes? Surely not Ilhan Omar. Surely not Ilhan Omar. For the love of God, don't tell me it was Ilhan Omar. She voted yes? She cast that tie-breaking vote? It can't be. Can't be. I don't believe it. Could it be her? Oh no, it's her. Oh no, it's her. She voted for it. She voted for it. And not just her. Look who else voted for it. We got Bowman, right? Where is he? Scrolling up. Bowman, he voted for it as well. Remember the New Progressive? Yeah, he voted for it. Jayapal, she voted for it? She voted for it. Wow. What about Ro Khanna? He voted for it? Oh, he voted for it. His wife's going to make a lot of money from that. She owns stock in about 7 different weapons manufacturers. Wow. So these progressives, they cast the last votes needed for this thing to pass by a simple majority. They could have held this thing up. Literally. I mean, Ilhan Omar alone could have held up this bill. You know why? You know why all the Republicans voted no? Because there was something in there about removing a ban on federal funding for abortions, right? So it's more of like, oh, okay, you're going to take that away, then we're going to ditch the entire bill. Not because they don't support Israel, right? Like, let's be clear. The Republicans are just as much Zionists as the Democrats. There's no confusion there. They know it's going to pass. This is the thing. They have no worry about what the Democrats do. They know the Democrats are going to pass it. They know that Israel is going to get the aid. That's why they all voted no. It's symbolic more than anything else. But the problem is, we know the Republicans are shit. We know they're fucking Zionists. We know the Democrats are shit and Zionists. We know they all support Israel. But when it comes to Ilhan Omar, I just showed you how 3 months ago she's saying she's against this. She's against this military aid. And not just 2 months ago, she's been saying this for years. All of them have, not just her. All of these progressives have been saying the same thing. AOC, Rashida Tlaib, and what about Ayanna Pressley? Don't tell me she voted for it too. Oh no, she did, didn't she? I'm scrolling down. She voted for it. So this thing barely passed. This thing barely passed with 217 votes. Okay, so all the Republicans voted no with 2 abstaining. This thing barely passed, and who votes for it? The people who've been saying, oh yeah, we should not give any money to Israel, and they're bad and such, but I'm going to give them money. Wow. Look, to me, I mean, I cannot think of a bigger hypocrisy than this. Ilhan Omar doesn't even need the others. She can just say, I'm not voting for this. I don't want to vote for this. And it won't pass because it needs a simple majority. But it's not just her. It's all of these progressives, right? They all come here and they pretend to be better than Democrats. They pretend to have their... What did Jamal Bowman say? He said his politics are rooted in human rights. Hey, let me tell you something, man. Giving money to Israel has nothing rooted in human rights, okay? I can tell you that. Illegally occupying Syria and Palestine and Lebanon, that's nothing to do with human rights, okay? And they know what's happening. They're not stupid because it's not like they've never said anything about this and they don't know what's happening. No, they've come out and said, we know what Israel's doing is bad. We should not be giving money to Israel. You know what? I'm going to go give money to Israel. You motherfuckers. And no one is paying attention. No one is paying attention. Do you know I saw like one headline about this after I reported about it on Twitter? Do you know how Ilhan Omar, she's been attacked so much? They said like, oh, she's anti-Semitic. She hates Israel. Oh, well, you ain't complaining about her now after she gave that money to Israel. Funny how that works, right? Funny how that works. When the check clears, oh, we love you. Do you see why they're all hot air? It's just blah, blah. And this is not the first time. This is not the first time they do this. So just a few months ago, right here on the show, what were we looking at? We were looking at the fact that there was a omnibus that needed to get through Congress, the first omnibus in Biden's presidency, and he gutted the $15 minimum wage. And he came up with some ridiculous pretext for it. He said the Senate parliamentarian didn't want to include it, and which you could easily override. And he removed it. He removed the $15 minimum wage. Now, where did they remove this? Pay attention, because the bill, when it was in the House, it contained the $15 minimum wage. Okay, let's take a look. I'm showing you this from a few months ago. This is back of my reporting back from March. Okay, so the House bill included the $15 minimum wage. They all voted for it. Then it went to the Senate. In the Senate, they gutted it. It's in the Senate that they removed the $15 minimum wage, and then they sent it back to the House. And it's just like in the UK, right? They have to. The House has to vote if they accept the amendments to the bill, right? So they have to vote and say, do we accept that the Senate took out the $15 minimum wage? Do we accept all these changes that you guys made? Yes, we do. Okay, then it's passed. And now it goes to the president's desk. It's the same thing in the UK, right? Go House of Commons, House of Lords, back to the Commons. And that's how it goes on to have royal assent. So they say, yeah, we totally want the $15 minimum wage. We voted for it. It goes to the Senate. They remove it. It comes back. And then they fucking vote for it again. They vote for it again. And it passed with a margin of 9 votes. So instead of putting their foot down and saying, hey, what did you do here? You just took out the $15 minimum wage? No way we're voting for that. We're going to put our foot down. We have 9 votes. We can do it. No, they just let it through. They fucking play with you, man. They're playing you so hard. And this is the same shit. They say, oh, yeah, Israel is really bad. Human rights violations in Palestine. But, here's the money. There's going to be just enough people to vote for it so that it passes. So AOC votes no, which is great, right? I mean, I shouldn't have to commend you on that. That's kind of like the basic, human moral thing to do. Not give weapons to murderers. It's not really something, you have to think about. So AOC votes no. Rashida Tlaib votes no. Cori Bush votes no. Well done. But then Ilhan Omar and Presley and Kana and, and Jayapal, they all come in and just enough of them vote yes, so it passes, like literally by 1 vote. Can you not see the game they're playing here? Do you not see what's going on? How do you justify this and excuse this? There is no excuse for this. There is no excuse for this whatsoever. Right? So another example of this, because when I pointed this out on Twitter, Glenn Greenwald answered underneath that this is their trick. And oh yes, it is, as we're seeing. And when did they pull this the last time? Very recently as well. So check this out. This is from Glenn, right? He says, that's why the squad's behavior on Pelosi's bill to increase Capitol Police funding is vital. All 6 of them agreed to join the GOP and vote no. But when they realized that would sink the bill, AOC, Tlaib, and Bowman voted present, so it passed by 1 vote. Oh, man. Oh, man. And then Glenn continues, that's why I keep returning to this episode. Number 1, the squad will not use its power to impede Pelosi, even when she's acting against their claimed beliefs. Number 2, AOC, Bowman, Tlaib spent a year chanting, defund the police, but then ensured more funding for the police that protect them. Exactly. And just like they chant, oh, Israel is really bad, and, we're not going to give them any money. And you liars, you fucking liars. Oh, this is the pinnacle of hypocrisy. This is the pinnacle of hypocrisy. And I know there's people who don't understand this. They don't understand the political game that's going on here. I mean, a child can understand it. But nonetheless, there's people who don't want to understand it. I mean, dude, I checked this 6 times to make sure I wasn't tripping. I was like, no, they did this. They actually did this. Like, I know they would do it with other shit. But for Ilhan Omar to vote yes on giving weapons to Israel after they called her anti-Semitic and all this shit, and they barred her from going there, like, I was like, what? Maybe AOC or I don't know clearly about Ilhan Omar voted for it. I mean, that's almost as bad as if Rashida Tlaib voted for it, who's Palestinian, right? It's astonishing. And this is why the entire world looks at American politicians as all the same, because they are all the same. They all support Israel. They all support the corporations. They are all imperialists at the end of the day. And the people who are not grasping this, you are so fucking ignorant and dumb and just stupid as fuck. You know, the only people who have never been outside the United States, have no connection to the countries targeted by the United States, could not see this. And it's really not asking that much, honestly, to see what's going on here, this game that they're playing, right? And you know, you have like these idiots who, oh my God. I saw this, they tried to do it with Max Blumenthal because he talked with Cori Bush outside the Capitol Hill. We'll get to that in a bit. And they were saying like, oh my God, he's berating women of color. Look. There is absolutely nothing against women of color here. You know what's against women of color? Giving weapons to Israel, you motherfucker. What do you think Israel does with those weapons? Who do you think they're killing with those weapons? Which women do you think they're killing with those weapons? Whose children are they killing with those weapons? What men are they killing with those weapons? What elderly? Arabs, Syrians, Lebanese, Palestinian, Iranian. That's what they're killing. That's legitimately, like, concretely giving fucking money to buy bombs and murder people. And you want me to just sit here and be like, oh my God, I don't want to hurt their feelings. Fuck you. Eat shit. Fuck you and fuck Israel, bitch. How dare you? How fucking dare you? These people have no shame. Like, they're so ready to just lick these politicians' asses, even when they're giving money to Israel. Like, what? How low can you sink? What is, like, where's the line? Where do you finally say, like, yeah, okay, these people are not really, you know, acting on on our behalf and in our best interests? When do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line? So this is political theater. This is all political theater. They are so, dude. You need to understand something, man. These people would never be in the Democratic Party if they were not, whatever. I'm you know, you could compromise them, blackmail them, bribe them. Who cares? It doesn't matter, right? At the end of the day, they're fulfilling whose agenda? Are they fulfilling the agenda of a progressive? No, they're fulfilling the agenda of Israel, of the establishment. Israel got their weapons. What did you get? You got jack shit. Israel got their weapons. What did you get? You got nothing. So stop trying to make excuses for these people, okay? And this is not the first time. I'm showing you on so many occasions, the $15 minimum wage. By the way, they did this also with the $600 stimulus check in December, right? They're like, oh my God, $600 for a stimulus check. This is unacceptable. This is too low. And then they fucking voted for it. And $15 minimum wage, you know, we're going to get to Congress. We're going to pass the $15 minimum wage. And then Biden and the Senate got it. And they fucking voted for it. And then they say, oh, Israel is bad. We're not going to give them weapons. And then they fucking voted for it. You are so cucked if you think these people work for you. They don't work for you. Why do people buy into this? Why are they so brainwashed? Why are they so ready to, like, grovel at these politicians' feet? Look at what they're doing. Look how they're voting. I'm not asking you to look at the fucking color of their hair or, you know, what color car they drive. I don't give a shit. Look at what they're voting for. Look at what they're doing. Not what they're tweeting. Look at what they're doing. Whose agenda is getting passed? Not yours. Israel's agenda is getting passed. Nancy Pelosi's agenda is getting passed. The corporations, their agenda is getting passed. Not yours, not mine, not anyone's. Okay? And this concerns me very much, very deeply, because where do you think this money is going? Where do you think what do you think Israel does with that money? You think they buy chocolate? You think they buy candy and roses? They buy weapons from the United States. It's literally in the contract. Look, I'll show it to you. It literally says it right here. They say, none of the funds made available under this heading shall be available to finance the procurement of defense articles, defense services, or design and construction services that are not sold by the United States government under the Arms Export Control Act. Okay, so they're literally saying that you also have to buy American-made weapons with this money. You can't buy from anyone else unless we give you permission. It's military aid. It's in the name. It's made for the military, for the forces. What do they do with their forces? They kill Palestinians, they kill Syrians, they kill Lebanese, they kill Iranians. They occupy the Syrian Golan Heights. They occupy the West Bank. They occupy Jerusalem. They occupy all of Palestine. You know, and they take our water from the Golan Heights. Do you know the Golan Heights gives the Israelis about 1/3 of the water they need? 1/3. So don't come here and tell me that's not valuable. And who do you think is occupying the Golan Heights? You think they have a bunch of shepherds there? They have the fucking army. And what weapons are they carrying? American weapons. They use this money to do that. Okay? So we are all directly implicated by this. And to come here and say, oh, you know, you're being too harsh. No. What? Like, I can't handle this logic, man. You know, like giving weapons to Israel, depriving people of, you know, housing and a $15 minimum wage, not fulfilling campaign promises. You know, this is all okay, but like criticizing for that, this is not okay. Eat shit. So, you know, I'm just going to read you very briefly from Glenn's article on Substack. Glenn Greenwald, he says, by a margin of one vote, the U.S. House of Representatives on Thursday approved a bill that allocates $1.9 billion to intensify security and increase policing at the U.S. Capitol. Okay? Again, this is the same scenario. All Republicans voted against it. All Democrats voted for the bill except for 6. 3 members of the left-wing faction of the House, known as the quote-unquote squad, joined their GOP colleagues to vote against the bill. Ilhan Omar, Cori Bush, Ayanna Pressley. But the other 3 members of the squad, AOC, Bowman, and Tlaib, voted neither yes nor no, but rather present. Okay? All 6 had previously told activist groups that they opposed the bill. Had any of these 3 squad members voted no instead of present, then the bill would have been defeated. In other words, this faction of the squad had the power fully in their hands to block passage of a bill that would increase police funding and enhance the power of the security state to prevent the public from entering the U.S. Capitol, a bill they claim to oppose. So they're liars, they're hypocrites, and they say one thing and then vote another way. And they do this with every fucking bill. And the people who refuse to pay attention, I mean, you shouldn't be covering politics, should you? Should you? So don't come here and tell me that this is correct behavior. This is absolutely, unbelievably immoral. This is grotesque. This is scandalous. How the hell do you give billions of dollars to the Israeli apartheid regime and you sleep on it? How can you have that on your conscience? I wouldn't give them 1 cent. How can you do that, man? You know, the whole point of BDS, what is BDS? It's to deprive them of income, right? It's to object and prevent any resources contributing to the occupation. This is contributing to the occupation. It's not just contributing, it's sponsoring it directly. It relies on this money. Okay? People's lives are at risk because of this money. Just the other day, this week, the Israelis shot and killed a 12-year-old boy. And then they shot and killed a 20-year-old who went to the 12-year-old's funeral. That is what Ilhan Omar, that is what, Nancy Pelosi, all of these shitheads are paying for. Do you understand? When they send this money, that's what they're paying for. Among other things, among various other atrocities. You can pick and choose which atrocity you want. The point still stands. So, I mean, you go ask any Arab, and not even just any Arab, you ask most people in the world, just anyone with some common sense. Do you think this is okay, giving billions to Israel after what they do in Palestine? They'll be like, no, this is not okay. We do not accept this. This is unacceptable. This is evil. I do not understand how a Somali, an African Arab woman, a Muslim woman can give money to Israel. This is unheard of. It's not about identity at the end of the day, right? It's about class. And these people, they're in the neoliberal elite ruling class. That's what it's about. They're protecting their interests. That's what it's about. And whose agenda is getting accomplished, you can see for yourself. So this is absolutely unacceptable. How do you give money to Israel, man? I mean, and the level to which they lie is unbelievable, right? Every single thing they say they're not going to do, they go and do it. This is why we call them the fraud squad. You know why they're called the fraud squad? Because they lie about every single fucking thing. They say, we're not going to let this bill through, if it doesn't contain a $15 minimum wage. The Senate guts it, and then they still vote for it. And they cast the tie-breaking votes. It's because of them that it passes. They come and say, we're not going to vote for this bill that gives $1.9 billion to the Capitol Police. And then what happens? They cast the tie-breaking votes to make sure that it passes. They say, we have to defund Israel. We should stop giving them billions every year. And then there's a bill on the table that they can block. What do? They give the money to Israel. How many times does it take for you to see what these people are? They are establishment types. They're Democrats, right? I don't care. You call them the squad, the quad. I don't give a crap. They're Democrats. They're neoliberals. They're not serving your agenda. Who gains from this? Israel gains. Israel has just gained literally $3.3 billion, which they could have stopped. Who gains when a $15 minimum wage is not passed? Because the squad don't put their foot down. Corporations gain, all right? Wall Street gains. Joe Biden and his buddies, they are the ones who gain. They are the ones who benefit from this situation. This is so corrupt. They are playing you. The only purpose of the squad is to do this crap. It's to like pretend that they're dissenting. It's to pretend that they're opposing the establishment. But look how they vote. They always vote in favor of the establishment. They're the ones who actually save it. It's not just they're lying about how they're voting. No. It's because of them, thanks to them, that these bills are passing. They're casting the tie-breaking votes. It's because of them that these bills are getting through. This is stinking hypocrisy. Anyone with half a brain can see what's going on here, can see this game. These people have no credibility. This is scandalous. How do you give $3 billion to Israel after what they're doing? Just today, the Supreme Court in Israel, this kangaroo court, is trying to evict Palestinians living in East Jerusalem and Sheikh Jarrah. Jerusalem is illegally occupied. With whose weapons? Whose money? The United States. That $3 billion that you just gave Israel is going to occupy Palestine, is going to occupy the holy city of Jerusalem, is going to occupy Syria, Lebanon. That's where this money's going. It's going to murder people. How do you sleep at night? How do you sleep at night? This is disgusting. This is so disgusting. These people, literally the fraud squad. I'm done, man. I'm really done. Their only purpose is to say, pay lip service and blah, blah, and bullshit you and get into the Democratic Party and then protect Nancy Pelosi, protect Joe Biden. They're like, oh yeah, we're going to show them we're not going to vote for this and this is so bad. And they're going Instagram Live and they'll talk a good one. And then when it's time to vote, they got Pelosi elected Speaker of the House again. They got all these bills through without any progressive agenda. Dude, this week, instead of dealing with the eviction moratorium, what did they do? They gave billions to Israel. I mean, there is literally nothing more American than giving billions of dollars to Israel while Americans face eviction. Millions of Americans face being kicked out of their homes. That's what the American government is. It takes care of corporations. It takes care of its allies. It takes care of Israel. And it screws its own people. It screws people of color everywhere. It screws everyone who's not in their ruling class, ruling elite clique. That's what it's about. If you can't see that, God help you.